Izzy and Slash were just kids when they recorded Appetite for Destruction almost 40 years ago. But all these decades later, there's still so much we can learn from that classic guitar duo. That's what we're going to talk about today. Hey kids, it's your good buddy, Uncle Ben. Over my many years as a guitar teacher and touring musician, I've learned thousands of songs, and they've all taught me something that stuck with me and helped me along the way. Mastering tunes makes us better players, and that's why every guitarist should learn Night Train by Guns N' Roses. Hey there kids, it's your good buddy, Uncle Ben. Released all the way back in 1987, Appetite for Destruction remains one of the greatest debut albums by any band of all time, as evidenced by the fact that it sold like a bajillion copies and almost every song on the album went on to become a hit single. And part of the reason for that is the amazing duo of Izzy Stradlin and Slash on guitar, who played really differently from each other. This isn't like records today when you hear two guys that are playing exactly the same part all the time. Part of the appeal that we get from Guns N' Roses is the same appeal that we get from bands like the Rolling Stones or Aerosmith. Those are bands that feature guitar duos that are really loose and aren't really intent on playing exactly the same as each other. It's the contrast between the two players and the looseness that makes it sound so damn good. Night Train is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It features a ton of different parts throughout the song that the guys only play kind of similar to each other. We're going to talk about what makes that sound so amazing on today's video. But you're going to get even more out of it if you check out the extended and ad-free cut that's available only over on my Patreon page, patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. People are calling it the best dollar you can spend a month and a potential cult. And they're right. Sign up today even for just $1 a month. It's going to get you access to that video as well as hundreds of other exclusive goodies like downloadable tabs, backing tracks, and so much more. So don't delay. Sign up today over at patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. Of course, we all know Slash for being one of the greatest pallbearers of all time, so today I'm going to be playing my Gibson/Victoria Gold Top Les Paul to play his parts. And by contrast, I always like seeing Izzy play those big old rock and roll hollow body guitars. So for his parts, I'm going to be playing this awesome EVH SA126. And of course, we all know Guns N' Roses for using the gold standard of tone Marshall amps, which is why I'm plugging into the brand new Synergy Marshall JMP module. This thing just hit the market and it's amazing for those classic Marshall tones. For Izzy's lower gain sound, I'm using it with the 60s mode engaged, and for Slash's slightly hotter tone, I'm using the 70s mode. And I'm shaping the tone a little bit more out front using the Pepper's Pedals Dirty Tree, which just adds a little bit more high-end sparkle and tames the low end a little bit. Yeah, let's get into it. For today's video, we're going to be tuned down 1/2 step lowlier to E flat, as Guns N' Roses typically does. Alright, let's talk about that classic Guns N' Roses tone a little bit here, because it's not exactly what we hear out of a lot of modern guitar tones, and it's also probably not the tone that you want to use if you're just playing by yourself. Be sure if you're using a model or whatever to dial in a classic Marshall sound, maybe an 800 or a JMP like what I'm using today. Dial in lots of mid-range, lots of treble, and be careful and stingy with the bass and gain. That's honestly a little bit more low end than what's on the album. I just wanted this to sound nice and full if you're watching it on your phone or whatever. So if I was going for a really authentic tone, I'd use even less gain and even less low end than what I have on here. I think there's a lot that we can learn about making awesome riffs that utilize a 2-guitar attack whenever we check out the intro. Izzy and Slash's parts are both drastically different from each other, but really blend together to create an awesome sound. Check out what Slash's part is first. It features a lot of simple chords and dyads. Mostly simple power chords and double stops there on the middle 2 strings. As well as a couple of 2-note dyads in there. Like we talked about recently in the Skid Row video, dyads are just kind of shortcuts for bigger chords. In this case, this G and B note act as kind of a shortcut to a G major. You'll notice a lot of times Slash will put a little bit of vibrato on those double stops or even those thirds. That vibrato just kind of helps hide the intonation discrepancies between the 2 guitars, as well as make some of those intervals that just kind of sound a little nastier with distortion on them, like thirds, a little bit nicer to listen to. Now by contrast, Izzy's part is really simple. It's just playing a single string the entire time. Check this out. It's really simple to play, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I love how there's no ego in Izzy's playing. Like, it doesn't matter if what he's playing is simple. If it sounds good, it is good. That's the golden rule of music, right? Now, put together with Slash's part, we get some really interesting chord sounds here. The combination of the 2 guitar parts on this first chord kind of gives us an A minor 7 sound. So we got root, 5th, and flat 7. For the second part there, if we combine Slash's double stop with Izzy's single note, it gives us a combination of this D major and C major triad, root, 3rd, and 5th for both of those shapes. Right there we got C to G to an F. That's a great example of 2 completely different guitar parts combining to make an awesome, powerful sound that rings out more clear and true than it would if you played it all on one guitar. I talked earlier about the looseness of Izzy and Slash's guitar work together, and the verse is a perfect example of that. It sounds like they had like a 5-second conversation about how the verse was going to go. They hit record and both of them just played whatever they wanted to. It's really just centered around A, but they're both playing it completely differently. Izzy's part is really loose and just kind of based around that A power chord. What he plays seems really off the cuff. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of repetition in there. So if you're trying to replicate his feel on this section, I think you can really learn a lot from that, just kind of shoot from the hip attitude. Sounds something like this. Mostly just slamming on that open A power chord. And there's also some muted stuff, just kind of killing time in there as well. Now compare that to Slash's part, it's a lot more kind of composed. It features some walk-ups and little licks based around C against that A power chord. Sounds kind of like this. You can find the isolated guitar tracks for this song right here on YouTube, and I recommend listening to those with headphones on so you can really hear the difference of those 2 guitar parts. You'll have Slash over here on your right side and Izzy on your left side. This would like never happen on a modern rock or metal record. In the recording studio, a lot of times now, you just pick one guy that's going to play all the rhythm parts. And he'll play one pass for the left side of the mix, one pass for the right side of the mix. And sometimes they'll even double or quadruple track those just for an even thicker sound. This is two totally different guys on totally different guitars playing the riff completely differently. You can really hear this kind of like scattered back and forth thing on the headphones. It sounds exactly like when you listen to old Rolling Stones recordings. Those things are super loose, and same with Aerosmith and even AC/DC stuff. It's a really cool sound, and I miss hearing it in rock music. Perfect example of how stuff doesn't have to be locked down tighter than a dolphin's asshole to sound awesome. There's a cool transition riff that they play at the end of the verse that's kind of a variation on the intro. That's just good, resourceful songwriting. I think a lot of us are tempted to throw every idea that we can into a tune, but in reality, reusing something that you've already used in the song is a better way to build more continuity. So there's a really cool effect to that looseness that we talked about in the intro and verse parts, but whenever both guitars get a little bit more focused and start playing really on top of each other like we hear in the chorus, it has the opposite effect. It sounds a lot more tight and pummeling. Check this out. I dig how they chose that part of the song to make the guitars get really organized and play right on top of each other. It's a cool way to outline like an A minor, F major, G major progression. Kind of a classic one that we hear in a lot of rock tunes. Now we get up to the guitar duel section of the song, which features a solo by Izzy and then a solo by Slash. The first thing we can learn from this is the power of a cool key change. The song so far has been centered around A, and once it goes to Izzy's solo, we go up one whole step to kind of a B minor sound. Whenever you want a new section of a song to pop, move it up a whole step. We've heard Metallica do this a bajillion times, right? Think about the verse to chorus of Enter Sandman, or even the second part of the verse in Master of Puppets. They do that all the time. I talked about this recently in that Skid Row video as well, which features the same move. That song was mostly in G minor. It moves up a step to A minor for the solo section. It just gives the listener a little bit of a lift and some new sonic territory to explore. Key changes like that used to be so common to hear in popular tunes, probably up to the, early mid-2000s. We used to hear those changes all the time. And somewhere in there, some square record executive wearing a tie decided that listeners weren't ready to hear such adventurous explorations as a key change. Oh, it's scary. It'll, weird people out. But in reality, these are formulas that have worked forever. So I say that we should use them and add some more interesting sounds into our tunes. There's crazy key changes all over the Guns N' Roses catalog. If you look at a song like Welcome to the Jungle, it is all over the map, man. It's in B, it's in A, it's in E. It's all over the map, and it doesn't really seem to bother anybody, does it? So Izzy's playing over that B to F sharp riff, and he's mostly playing some really classic shit. He kicks it off with these like Chuck Berry style double stops. It's super simple stuff. Like if you're trying to learn your first guitar solo, this is a great place to start. But it doesn't matter that it's easy. It sounds rock and roll. It sounds awesome. I think it just suits the song perfectly. This section features that B Dorian blues hybrid scale thing. Some people call this the Jimmy Page scale or the Ace Frehley scale. It's something that we heard all over the classic rock stuff, and I'm sure that's where Izzy got it as well. That sliding lick down the D string gets us in position to jump back into the rhythm part for that chromatic walk up, which is where it transitions over to Slash's solo. Under Slash's solo, Izzy and Duff are playing a riff that centers around D and F sharp. And on top of that riff, we got Slash doing what he does best, which is some classic bluesy soloing with some really clever chord tone targeting going on. Starts off with these really cool bends on the G and B. Now those might just seem like classic stock bluesy licks, but there's something really smart going on right here. This is where he's playing over the D, right? It's just a D power chord, root and fifth. So it doesn't really sound major or minor. But whenever he plays this, that kind of country sounding double stop, what he's doing is he's playing the fifth under his little finger here, the A note, and he's taking this E note on the G string up a whole step to F sharp. Now to a D, this makes this sound out like a D major chord altogether, since he's adding in that major third. I love that lick right there. That's an awesome one. I've got lessons on how to play both Slash and Izzy solos here on my channel. So if you're looking for like note by note instruction on how to play those, be sure to click those links down in the video description. And again, we got more note targeting here that we can learn from. At this point, the riff has switched over to that F sharp power chord. And again, it's a power chord. It's not major or minor. But whenever he plays this sliding up ascending line, he's playing an F sharp minor arpeggio, root, flat third, and fifth. You could even visualize this as just being part of a F sharp minor bar chord, right? And he takes that up to the root note F sharp there on the top. There's this cool thing that he does right there you can check out as well. He takes the E up and in the process kind of grabs the B under his finger as well. Kind of makes that nice, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan train wreck kind of sound. Before it resolves back there on the root F sharp. We're back to playing over D when he changes to this lick. Classic stuff. I mean, that's like, again, Chuck Berry 101. And this features a mix of both flat third and regular third. Kind of gives it that major plus minor kind of bluesy tonality. He gets into that up top here as well. There's our flat third. And there he is ending on the major third. Cool mix of tonalities. Now when it goes back to F sharp, that's the perfect time for him to unleash a flurry of F sharp blues scale stuff. Here's what he plays. There's a cool picking trick you can learn if you play this just like how I suspect Slash does it. Check out the picking hand here. Did you see that double downstroke? I've long suspected that Slash is a downwards pick slanting player, the same way that Joe Bonamassa, Zakk Wylde, and other rock and roll shredders are, partially just due to how low he plays with his guitar. I notice a lot of times whenever guys play with their guitar slung that low, it kind of naturally puts their wrists at this angle. It's very conducive to downwards pick slanting, which is the picking style where our pick goes into the strings on downstrokes and pops out of the strings on upstrokes. I've got a ton of videos about downwards pick slanting here on my channel, and I also recommend you check out Cracking the Code by the amazing Troy Grady right here on YouTube. One of the big advantages of downwards pick slanting is that it enables your pick to slip through the strings with double downstrokes really easily. And I'm pretty damn sure that's what he's doing whenever he plays through that fast lick. Down, down, up. That's a whole lot easier than going down, up, down, because then you're like inside the strings if you're alternate picking your way through that. Whereas if you do the double downstroke, it lets you always escape the strings on the upstroke, which again, if you're picking like this, is a big advantage because your pick is popping out of the strings off those upstrokes. Now after this, the chord goes back to D, he switches to the neck pickup and plays these cool kind of double stops across the D and B strings. So again, if we're just thinking about chord shapes right here, just imagine you have a D bar chord and you play just the D and B strings. Let's say you got bored and you just decided to slide up to them. That gives you a cool sound with some variety in it that's still sitting right there inside of the chord. And then when he walks up, that's to get us closer to the next set of double stops. This is over the F sharp minor. And again, use the same idea. Play an F sharp minor bar chord, play what's on the D and B string. And even when he's down in this position right here, that is also part of an F sharp minor triad, just in a different position. There's a cool studio trick you can learn from here at the end of that solo. The band is kind of building up on that D chord before it slams back down on A. And over that D, there's an overdub of a guitar with a slide on it. And what it's doing is playing a D double stop and just slowly creeping up the neck. Kind of gives it that like motorcycle revving to oblivion sort of sound. They use that on Welcome to the Jungle and a bunch of other songs too. Now, the last chorus of the song introduces something here that I want to point out as kind of a Guns N' Roses trademark. They do all kinds of weird songwriting things that shouldn't work, but absolutely do. And what I'm talking about here is how the last chorus of the song is completely different from the first chorus of the song. But you kind of don't even notice that it's any different than what you heard earlier. Really, if you think about it, the song had one chorus way earlier in the song, and then this one, which is still the words Night Train, but it's not really the same chorus at all. I can't explain why that works. But Guns N' Roses stuff is covered in weird songwriting, things like that. Again, more proof that like your average music listening audience is okay with weird stuff. Are you listening, record executive people? Everything doesn't have to be one key and the same chord progression all the fucking time. People are okay with a little bit of variety and a little bit of intrigue and interest in their music. Trust me, they can handle it. Over that alternate chorus outro, Slash plays a whole bunch of really cool freeform stuff. I can't really interpret all the licks that he's doing there. I wish I could find just his track isolated. That would be a big help. So if anybody knows where to find that, let me know down in the comments section. So much awesome, unrefined, loose, drunk, swaggery stuff you can pick up from this song. It's imperfect by design, and that's part of what makes it sound so cool. And I think that especially in an era where everything in the guitar world is so concerned with being inhumanly perfect, I think there's a lot that we can learn from the awesome sound of the imperfections of Izzy and Slash playing together. Well, there you go, guys. A breakdown of why everybody ought to be learning this Guns N' Roses classic. I love listening to this tune. I love playing it with my hair metal tribute band Skank Banger. It's always a blast to kind of duel and shred over that outro. Really awesome song, and I hope that you guys learned some cool stuff from this video. Be sure to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for notifications every time I upload a new slice of fried gold. And pet your dog for me. As you go through the week, I want you guys to keep a good thought. Try to do something good for somebody out there. The world is very crazy right now, all over the place for a myriad of different reasons. And it's up to people like you and I to make it a better place. And I think we can do that one act of kindness at a time. So if you have the opportunity to do something awesome for somebody this week, do it to it. Make the world a better place. Now get away from that computer machine, grab that guitar, start mashing some rope. Less clicking, more picking.